She was the kind of woman who didn't just walk into a room. She changed it, not with noise, with presence, with polish, with that calm, deliberate energy that makes people look up before they realize they're looking. Men noticed her instantly. Women clocked her quietly. Even the people who act like they don't care somehow cared about her. Everything about her felt intentional. The way she dressed, the way she carried herself, the way she spoke like she had time. And when she looked at you, it didn't feel like casual eye contact. It felt like focus, like you'd been selected for that moment. I remember thinking, this is rare. What I didn't understand yet is that rare isn't always real. This is the story of how I learned the difference between what someone presents and who they actually are. And if you're a man navigating modern dating, especially if you're coming back after a long relationship or a divorce, you need to hear this, not to make you paranoid, not to make you bitter, but to sharpen your discernment, because the landscape has changed and old assumptions will cost you. I met her at work, different departments, same building, and meeting someone in a professional environment does something to your brain. It gives them borrowed credibility. You assume character because they're competent, employed, polished. But a job isn't character, it's a role. From the first real conversation, she felt easy to talk to. Not because she was easy, because she was skilled. She wasn't just smart, she was socially sharp. She remembered small details from weeks earlier. She asked questions that made you open up without noticing you were opening up. She had the kind of warmth that makes a man think, finally, someone who understands people. And she had a gift for making people feel important. I watched her do it with coworkers, clients, even strangers. Focused eye contact, genuine sounding curiosity, the right compliments at the right time. She could make a security guard feel respected and an executive feel relaxed. At the time, I thought, she's naturally kind. Now I understand. Charm can be trained, and being good at connection isn't the same thing as being good in relationships. Our conversations got longer. Lunch breaks became walks. Walks became coffee after work. It didn't feel rushed. It felt natural. Then the personal stories started. Childhood struggles, family tension, past relationship pain, dreams she rarely shared. It felt like trust, like she was letting me see the real her. So I opened up too. I told her about my divorce, the rebuilding, the lessons, the standards I had now, the kind of relationship I wanted in this chapter. I was vulnerable in a way I hadn't been in years because she made it feel safe. And she responded perfectly. She validated me. She affirmed my growth. She used the kind of words that hit a man right in the chest. You're rare. Most men don't. Do the work you've done. You deserve someone who appreciates you. It felt like respect. What I didn't see then is that when you tell someone your pain, your values, your hopes, if they're not sincere, you're not building intimacy. You're giving them a manual. You're telling them what you need to hear, what makes you stay, what kind of man you want to be seen as. And a clever person can reflect that back to you so cleanly, it feels like destiny. I started doing little things for her. A coffee when she looked tired, a book she mentioned, a small gift here and there. Nothing excessive, just what a decent man does when he cares. She accepted it all with grace, always appreciative, always warm, always just enough affection in return to keep the momentum alive. In my mind, it was simple. We're building something. I was waiting for the right moment to define it. Work made me move slower than I normally would. I didn't want to be reckless. I didn't want to be that guy who makes the office awkward, so I stayed respectful, measured, professional. I let her set the pace. I told myself that was maturity. What I realize now is that my caution gave her exactly what she needed: time without pressure, time to keep multiple doors open. And because we mostly interacted at work, I had limited visibility. I saw her in a controlled environment, playing a polished role. I didn't see her weekends. I didn't see her private patterns. I filled in the blanks with positive assumptions. She was always available, but never fully available. She'd reply, but not too fast. She'd accept invitations, but sometimes she had plans. The plans were always vague, real enough to be believable, unclear enough to avoid questions. When we were together, she was warm, present, engaged, but there was always a subtle sense that her attention could be withdrawn at any moment. And that creates a dynamic most men don't notice until they're deep in it. You start trying to earn stability. You start leaning forward. I interpreted it as independence and boundaries. I respected it. I even admired it. Now I see it differently. Controlled availability can be strategy. It keeps you slightly uncertain, slightly hungry, slightly invested. Eventually, I told her directly that I wanted more than vague coffee and long talks. I wanted to explore something real. She didn't say no. She said she needed time. She'd been hurt. She wanted to be sure. She had things to sort out. She didn't want to rush. And she said it with such convincing sincerity that my protective instincts kicked in. I gave patience. I gave space. I said there was no pressure, and I meant it. What I didn't understand is that I need time often isn't a path to commitment. It's a holding position. It lets someone receive the benefits of being wanted: attention, gifts, emotional support, without the responsibility of choosing. Time without a timeline isn't healing, it's harvesting. I waited. The dynamic stayed intimate enough to keep me engaged, undefined enough to keep her free, and my intuition started speaking louder. Her phone was always face down. She stepped away for calls more than seemed normal. Her weekend stories were vague in a way that didn't feel natural. When I asked about her life outside work, her answers were polished but thin. Safe anecdotes, rehearsed details, smooth redirects. She also talked about men constantly: how men are selfish, how men use women, how hard it is to find someone genuine. I listened sympathetically, trying to be the exception, trying to prove I wasn't like the others. Men need to understand this. When you're trying to prove you're different, you're already in a frame where she's judging and you're auditioning. That frame makes you easier to manage. Then money started leaking through the cracks. She looked put together, but there were constant small crises: unexpected bills, card declines, car trouble, a shortfall here and there. Always temporary, always just this once, always explained well. Sometimes she'd borrow small amounts, not enough to feel like a scam, just enough to activate your instinct to help. And I helped, because I told myself it wasn't about money. It was about support. But repeated emergencies aren't emergencies. They're a pattern, and patterns in money usually reflect patterns in responsibility, discipline, and accountability. I ignored it because I wanted to be generous. Generosity without standards becomes a slow form of self disrespect. The truth didn't arrive with a dramatic scene. It arrived through mismatched details. A comment from someone we both knew that didn't align with her story, a name I didn't recognize, a timeline that didn't fit, a pattern of availability that suddenly made sense if you assumed there were other men. I didn't go paranoid. I woke up. I started noticing instead of assuming. asking instead of smoothing things over. And piece by piece, the structure appeared. There was another man. Actually, there were multiple men, and I wasn't the only one receiving the warmth, the special conversations, the vulnerable stories, the delayed promises, the soft intimacy. I was one option in a rotation. Each man got a tailored version of her, built to fit what he wanted, what he feared, what would keep him engaged. Some provided money, some provided emotional labor, some provided status, some provided attention, some provided security. I was a utility in a system. And that's a brutal thing to realize because it forces you to accept something men hate. You weren't connecting with a person, you were interacting with a strategy. The realization came in stages: denial, bargaining, then cold clarity. I had been managed, not with obvious lies, but with selective honesty and strategic omission, with plausible deniability. And yes, technically, she could defend herself. She wasn't official with anyone. She never promised exclusivity. She could always say, I'm single, I'm exploring. That's where modern dating gets dangerous for men with old assumptions. Because today, intimacy doesn't automatically mean exclusivity. Consistent talking doesn't automatically mean intent. Spending time together doesn't automatically mean you're being chosen. Nothing is implied unless you define it. When I confronted her calmly with what I knew, her reaction told me everything. No shame, no real remorse, no reflection, just justification. Why am I acting possessive? What's wrong with options? She never promised anything. She's allowed to explore. On paper, she could argue herself into being right. But character isn't measured by what you can defend. It's measured by what you choose when no one can force you. There's a difference between technical innocence and ethical behavior. What killed any attraction wasn't only what she did, it was the absence of accountability for the impact. A healthy person can say, I should have been clearer. She didn't. Then she moved on like it was nothing. Within minutes, she was talking about something else. No emotional weight, no discomfort. That's when I realized this wasn't new for her. This was routine. One lane closes, another opens. The machine keeps running. And here's what surprised me. Once the illusion collapsed, my feelings didn't slowly fade. They evaporated. Because you can't miss someone who never truly existed. The woman I thought I was falling for was a construction designed to trigger my best instincts: protect, provide, be patient, be the good man. When I finally saw the person behind the construction, I realized I didn't know her at all, and I didn't like what I saw. Looking back, the transactional pattern was obvious. Warmth was proportional to usefulness. If I was giving, she was present. If I wanted clarity, she needed time. If I wanted consistency, she had stress. If I wanted terms, I was pressuring her. I was building with a partnership mindset. She was operating with an exchange mindset. Two different games. And if you play partnership against exchange, exchange wins. Because partnership assumes good faith, while exchange assumes leverage. Now here's where I take responsibility. I ignored the signs because I wanted the story. Vague personal life. Excuse, she's private. Controlled availability. Excuse, boundaries. Constant criticism of men. Excuse, trauma. Repeated money issues. Excuse, bad luck. Endless time without progress. Excuse, healing. Attraction made me generous with interpretations. Hope made me blind to patterns. And the moment you start defending someone's inconsistencies to yourself, you've stopped observing and started rationalizing. So what did I learn? Lessons every man should treat as fundamentals. Watch behavior, not words. Treat discomfort as data. Match investment to commitment. Charm is not character. Avoid information imbalance. If she knows everything about you and you know nothing about her real life, that's leverage, not intimacy. Verify through reality. Does she integrate you into her world or keep you compartmentalized? Use boundaries early. Boundaries reveal character fast. Take your time. Time exposes everything. And above all, define terms. Assume nothing. Clarify everything. Because modern dating doesn't reward good intentions, it rewards clarity and standards. If you're listening and parts of this feel familiar, if you've been in something confusing, inconsistent, intimate but undefined, understand this. Your confusion wasn't proof you're weak. It was proof the situation was designed to keep you uncertain. Uncertainty keeps men investing. Clarity ends the supply. So protect your time. Money can be earned again. Confidence can be rebuilt. Even heartbreak heals. But time is permanent. And the man who protects his time protects his future. Run a simple inventory in your own life. Do I feel peace or do I feel constant uncertainty? Do her words match her patterns? Does she integrate me or keep me hidden? Am I investing more than I'm receiving? Have I asked for clarity or am I hoping it appears? If the answers make you uncomfortable, don't panic. Don't argue. Don't chase. Get clear. State what you want. Set a boundary. Watch the response. Because the response will show you the truth. A healthy woman respects clarity. A strategic woman avoids it. That's the filter. The goal isn't to become cold. The goal is to become unbreakable. Not unbreakable because you never feel. Unbreakable because you don't abandon yourself. And if you want to understand why modern dating creates more situations like this, why ambiguity is rewarded, why options are protected, why attention is treated like currency, then the next conversation matters. Because the game changed, and men who don't update end up paying with the one thing they can't replace: their time.